Hi, I'm Satori Shakur, and here's what's coming up this week on One Detroit Arts and Culture. Detroit Public Theater's homage to the first African-American justice to serve on the Supreme Court. Plus, explore the new music from Detroit's own Gabriel Duran. Then head to Cranbrook for an exhibit celebrating art alumni from around the world. It's all just ahead on One Detroit Arts and Culture.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.
Hi, and welcome to One Detroit Arts and Culture. I'm your host, Satori Shakur, and I'm here at Tipping Point Theater in Northville. They offer an intimate, professional theater experience in the center of the community. Now, here's what's coming up on this show. We take a look back at Detroit Public Theater's presentation of Thurgood in New Center Park. Plus, Gabriel Duran channels the culture of Southwest Detroit through his pop music. Then an exhibit celebrating the Cranbrook Academy of Arts' most famous alumni. It's all coming up on One Detroit Arts and Culture. Last fall, Detroit Public Theater decided to take the theater outside to New Center Park with their presentation of Thurgood. It's a one-man show that tells the story of Justice Thurgood Marshall, the first Black man to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. Christy McDonald talked to Steve Broadnax III and one of Detroit Public Theater's artistic directors, Sarah Claire Corporandi, about the show.
Here at Howard University, we were taught one simple idea. The law is a weapon if you know how to use it.
I think what the most exciting thing I can say is live theater is back. Sarah Claire, this has got to be an amazing feeling, really.
It is an amazing feeling. It's a little bit surreal to know that we're back and kind of get back in the swing of things and then greet our audiences. But boy, that first night welcoming people back was so incredibly special, and every night after.
Steve, the theater nourishes all of our souls, and to be able to experience it in a community setting has got to be wonderful for you to step back in as a director.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? To get the opportunity, especially the year that we've been through, to get the opportunity and with community gather together and tell stories in such a story. And so it's a pleasure to get back and do theater, and not only just theater, but Thurgood specifically.
All right, we're going to talk about the show, but Sarah Claire, walk me through what some of the decision making was to be able to do this and do it out in a live setting outside.
There's just like a lot of investigating about where people are comfortable, what our unions are saying, what the guidelines are saying. And it's a lot of juggling and a lot of people being flexible and nimble to pivot. And then we were able to make this decision to transfer this show from Chautauqua Theater Company to Detroit pretty quickly with a homegrown Detroit artist, Brian Marable, who is phenomenal. You've seen him across Detroit on many stages for many years, but be able to sort of bring that back, to partner with Midtown Detroit Inc. on this beautiful venue outside so we all feel safe and taken care of. The weather is just right. And so just nimble.
Oh yes, constantly changing. Steve, talk to me about the show. It's a one-man show, which is so difficult for an artist and an actor to be able to carry that energy through, but really the subject matter of Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American U.S. Supreme Court Justice, and being able to tell that story. Talk me through some of the decisions that you had to make through the direction process and really bringing this to life here in Detroit.
growing up in school, I have to admit, had very minimal education about Thurgood. I knew he was on the Supreme Court, and I think that was the extent of my knowledge that I gained. So being able to go back and understanding him really being Mr. Godfather of civil rights and how the law was the weapon that he used to change things, it was very important. So it was a lot of research, which I love to do, and I have such more admiration for Thurgood now. And it was a pleasure as well to get this information out to people who may not have known as much as him as I think we should.
Real quick on that, Steve is such an amazing inspiration, by the way, and having him in the room and in the city, being able to bring him to Detroit, this is not the first time we've brought him. He just brings joy, compassion, humility, and just a great love of the art. And to bring him on this ground is important for DPT and for this city to have him here.
You know, Steve, when I sit and I watch a theater production, I always get this feeling of with the first line of the show. It's emotional. I tear up, and it doesn't matter what show it is. It's just being present, I think, in the moment when you hear those first lines and that energy of that. What's it going to be? Is there a moment in the show? Is there a line, something that you can bring to us that really has that moment for you?
I keep a lot of lines. At the top of the line, I think the law is a weapon if you know how to use it. And he says that it is, it takes place at his alma mater at Howard University. And he's basically giving a lecture to a group of students, a group of people who've come to see him toward the end of his career. And he is really educating that we have the power. He's basically passing the baton and saying we too can push forward change.
You know what? I learned something from Langston. One person can make a difference.
And we get to see him as a human being, not just a statue, not just a historical photo, but we get to see the man who had fears, had insecurities, but at the same time was able to do something great. And that's what I would like people to leave away with. And he should inspire us that we also can do something great.
What is the next step for DPT?
We are moving into a brand new space really soon in 2022. We have more programming coming up this year that we'll be announcing soon, and then a full season in 22-23 in our brand new home where we are so excited to welcome all of Detroiters.
And Steve, I'm going to give you the last word. What would you say that we should look forward to?
Look forward to more stories, more diverse stories. I think we cannot go back. I think learning from this year, our humanity, that's one thing I think COVID did was bring us together in all, class, race, gender, all of us were affected. And so I say moving forward, we're moving forward to a new theater that is inclusive, that tells all of our stories and unites us together. So I look forward to that. And I would tell people to look for it and tell your story. It too is important.
It doesn't get better, but in the power of reflecting people and their audience and their stories is just what you talked about, growing more and more and helping people understand so much better where we are in the world and taking the blinders off. I salute both of you and thank you so much for the time. And we're very excited for this.
All right. Thank you very much.
At 5 o'clock, June 25th, 1935, we're called back into the courtroom. Judge Eugene O'Dunn slams his gavel down and orders the University of Maryland to admit Donald Gaines Murray into its law school. You see, Charlie Houston was right. The law is a weapon.
For more on what Detroit Public Theater has in store, go to onedetroitpbs.org. Let's head to Southwest Detroit, where singer-songwriter Gabriel Duran is performing some of his new music. Will Glover talked with Gabriel about the inspiration behind the songs and the first Southwest Fest that he helped to organize. The Free Festival put on 32 performances over 3 stages, highlighting local Detroit artists. Here's the story.
It's 2:05. I probably should be spending all this time with you. I really should have focused on the things I knew. Reminisce about the way your body moves. It's funny how it's all the same. Love it when you call my name. Tell me hold it down like this. I've been rolling through this.
Gabriel, tell me where you're from, what it was like growing up there, and how that has, you know, been a part of your music, how it influences your music.
I grew up in Southwest Detroit, and growing up in Southwest, I feel like it's a very unique experience. And obviously, you know, a little bit of bias because I'm from here, but it does feel like Southwest is its own city right next to downtown. That it's just like a whole, it feels like it's another experience, being that we're such a, you know, diverse neighborhood. There are people from all over, from Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. You know, we have like white folk, we got black folk in the neighborhood too. It just feels like a nice melting pot and a very strong knit community. It was, I don't know, I look back on my childhood growing up in Southwest was just like, it was pleasant. It was really nice. You know, we have Clark Park in the center of our neighborhood. There's always events happening in our neighborhood. So you get to witness your culture as you grow up. And like I said, it's a strong knit community. So you feel really close to your neighbors. You feel really close to your community.
Now you looking jaded cause you stay cold. Ain't nobody checking for your business. I say so, that's simple. And I move in silence with my kinfolk. I ain't stopping till I see my business on the payroll. And they know that she wanna tell me something. Probably best if I don't say nothing. Pull it deep to the last few functions. Hate to see me on a...
What was the moment for you where you were like, you know what, I can do this. I want to take a real shot at music. What was that moment for you?
I think it came around, so I used to be a part of a hip hop collective that started in my neighborhood. It was called, we called ourselves Awkward Theory. It was like a hip hop collective that wanted to focus on using live instrumentation. And that was back when I was like 16, 17. And I think that was really the moment where I realized that this was not only what I really wanted to do, but something that was realistic even. We put out our debut album and it did really well within the neighborhood. It was cool because like a lot of people like knew our songs. Like they'd show up to the shows and like they'd be singing our song, you know, and not only that, but they were also like supporting too, which is the big thing because like you said, like a lot of people think it's like, oh, you got a cool song, you hit somebody up, you do a show, and your life is just like this magical journey with, you know, like being not like the center of attention, but like being in the spotlight for that moment, right? But what they don't see is like the, you know, the shows where people might not support.
What motivates you to continue to try and carve out this space for yourself?
My music, what keeps me going, I guess, at the end of the day is knowing that if I'm able to, like the further along I get on this journey, the more likely it is that I can open doors for others that might want to take this same path. And that's something that's huge for me. And not only with just music in general, I think it's really important to make sure that anybody with a platform, no matter how, you know, if it's a platform that is just starting or a platform that's, you know, 15 years along, it's important to make sure that they're opening doors for the next generation to make sure that that community is evolving.
I take it to the night where we first met, to the look inside your eyes when I first said, como tu pelo, como tu te llamas, brown skin, slim, thick with Adidas on her, yeah. But it's gotta be the walk for me, acting like she never gonna talk to me, no. Cause you not trying to leave alone, I know exactly what you want from me.
What does success look like to you?
Yeah, success to me, honestly, is, you know, just making a living off of what I'm passionate about. And that's, you know, that could be music, that could be community work. And the two of them, like I said, I'm hoping that I'm able to kind of like mix the two and achieve both at the same time. But yeah, success would really just be making sure that I'm able to take care of myself and I'm able to take care of that next generation after me.
All right, and so give me the handles. Where do you want people to go to click like and subscribe and give you all that fan love?
So it's just Gabriel X Duran on all platforms. So you can find me everywhere. This is just Gabriel, then X Duran. It's gonna be the same for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channel also. And on all platforms, just Gabriel Duran.
On the same roads, now you looking jaded cause you stay cold. Ain't nobody checking for you now. Unless I say so, that's simple. And I move in silence with my kinfolk. I ain't stopping till I see my birds on payroll, and they know that she wanna tell me something. Probably best if I don't say nothing. I pull up deep to the last few functions. Hate to see me on the same road.
For more info on the Southwest Fest and Duran's album, Wish You Well, go to our website at onedetroitpbs.org. Let's head to Cranbrook Academy of Art and take a closer look at the impact the school has had on the world of design, art, and architecture. Last fall, the exhibit With Eyes Opened celebrated the work from alumni over the past 90 years. Take a look.
Banglatown, East Side Detroit, over by Hamtramck. Artist Chris Shank has a studio here. He's been working in the city for the past decade.
You can't blame a student for wanting to go to the West or East Coast seeking more opportunity. But I had spent 14 years in New York. I had a decent understanding of how the cosmopolitan city worked and a good grasp of art history. What I needed was time alone to grow.
Shank came to Michigan to the Cranbrook Academy of Art, which led to this. Works made from styrofoam, foil, and a team to make them.
The point of going to Cranbrook is to develop your own point of view. That's the goal. Our allofoil process was something I invented at Cranbrook through just a series of rapid iterations. The best advice I got there from a colleague was just try a lot of things.
The art and design world knows Cranbrook's impact. You'll find it around here, the GM Tech Center in Warren, the spirit of Detroit downtown. 90 years on, the Cranbrook Academy's got an exhibition.
Cranbrook was a real incubator, and it was an attractor for people across the country.
Curator Andrew Blauvelt put the show together.
So With Eyes Opened is actually a phrase that Eliel Saarinen used in an unpublished manuscript that he wrote at the end of his life, reflecting on all the things that he had done at Cranbrook.
Finnish architect Eliel Saarinen designed the Bloomfield Hills campus, starting the academy in the early 1930s. A radical new approach, Blauvelt says.
Yes, it's radical in the sense that this was the first time that someone articulated that you should have a practicing artist be in charge of the program. Before that, it would have been a professor. And in the United States, there was a lot of what we call maybe art theory, like principles of art making.
So here, more doing than hearing people talk. Cranbrook recruited some leading artists like Carl Milles from Sweden. His figures surround the Orpheus Fountain. A fountain without a centerpiece, and here, the tiny model of what was supposed to go there.
It's part of the Cranbrook mythology that Saarinen, who was the master architect, thought that the figure was too big and too much, which I would personally agree with at that scale.
The full-size sculpture ended up in Stockholm, Sweden. Cranbrook's influence kept traveling far and wide. This painting by Jose Hoya, who came here in the late 1950s.
He's considered a living treasure as an artist and has such an impactful career in bringing modernism to the Philippines.
Here's Wokyeon Choi from Korea.
Now she's considered one of the pivotal figures for helping introduce Western abstraction back into Korean culture.
Frank Okada, a Japanese-American from Seattle.
He helps introduce the idea of abstract expressionism into the Pacific Northwest.
Cranbrook art, you can also see it at the TCF Center. Alum Sonia Clark's Healing Memorial, a participatory tapestry for those lost to the pandemic.
Beaded prayer is a packet or an amulet that has a message in the inside, it's sealed shut, and it has at least one bead on the outside.
Clark's work at the exhibition, a Confederate flag, threads meticulously extracted.
I think for Sonia, for the artist, it's definitely a question of social justice. And so her artwork is often dedicated to those projects where she's trying to advance those kinds of issues and causes.
Then there's design of the mid-century kind. Ruth Adler wanted to be an architect, off limits to women at the time, so she excelled at fabrics.
She was basically developing a new industry, so her, along with a few guys actually, and another woman, really developed the whole modern era of textile design.
Schnee and others like Florence Knoll of Knoll Furniture fame would help define modern interior design. Harry Bertoya, Cass Tech grad, he studied here, creating chairs from wire. At Cranbrook, Charles and Ray Eames learned to bend wood. With the war on, they made a leg splint into a work of art. Then came the chairs that permeated post-war America.
Thank you, Ray. All right, Charles, let's start with the first one right here.
The molded plywood chairs are a result of in a way, letting the mass production technique show through in the result.
The traditional, what we call the Cranbrook canon, has been the figures of like Charles and Ray Eames and Florence Knoll and Harry Bertoia, all of these figures from mid-century. And they all did really amazing things. But that's not the complete story.
Ken Isaacs led the school's design department in the 50s. In the 70s, he'd make his celebrated super chair when Watergate and an oil crisis were going on.
So he was one of the pioneers in what we call DIY furniture design or do-it-yourself furniture. So we think he's a really important figure that has been kind of forgotten about, but happily we have his archive now at Cranbrook. In 1984, somebody who also studied here at the Academy in the 1950s, Niels Diffriant, has a totally different other approach to his design. He is one of the fathers of ergonomics.
Niels Diffriant, another Cass Tech grad, his lounge chair created with the dawn of the personal computer. Later, he'd create his own line of fancy office chairs. Diffriant died in 2013, Isaacs in 2016. The next wave of designers carry on, but not so much with mass production in mind.
Jack Craig, who has this piece here. This is from his thesis project done here at Cranbrook. So again, experimenting with materials, not unlike the Eames experimenting with wood to bend it, he's experimenting with PVC pipe.
Every time I decide to make a table or a chair, I have to, chop it up like this. This will be a chair someday. I'm going to these giant plumbing supply places that only deal with municipalities and giant contractors, and I show up asking for one pipe. I was more into the idea of what you get through this natural process, but what you get out of it is very industrial design looking curvatures.
Jack Craig's work keeps evolving.
So slowly I cinch, the pipe around these irregular features.
He made an abandoned tool and die shop on Detroit's Lower East Side his studio after finishing at Cranbrook.
I was not really that introduced to the city during my time. I do wish there was a stronger relationship, and I hope that's changing.
Craig's connected to his neighborhood, like fellow alum Chris Shank.
I got to know my neighbors, and eventually my work required assistants. So my first assistants were my neighbors who lived adjacently across the street, and that's how I got to know my community. That's how I got to be a part of the community.
Shank's work, too, featured in the Cranbrook exhibition amongst all those other pieces.
The influence of Eames is strong. I mean, the ghosts are there. You feel the inspiration and the pressure. Cranbrook is a school of making, theory and practice, heavy on the practice.
For more on our arts and culture stories, just go to onedetroitpbs.org. I'd like to thank the Tipping Point Theater for having me here today. They have a great schedule ahead, so be sure to come check out a performance during the summer. That's going to do it for me, and I'm going to leave you with a performance from the Trunino Lowe Quartet. See you next time.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.